Warm welcome, best greetings from Cambridge. And my name is Sarah, and it's a pleasure to welcome all of you on this Tuesday talk today on Zoom and on YouTube. And this be very nice to hear where you're connecting from. Feel free to type in the chat and or throw out. It's interactive. Feel free to share. We'll have a chance for questions as we go along. And today's subject, science and spirituality, I'd like to open with a quote by Einstein, where he said that science without religion is lame, but religion without science is blind. And fascinating to think of this insight and oversight that Einstein had, and there are not many who have this kind of expression and balance. But I was thinking, is it possible to really live our life with this being integrated, or are we always forever going to be with a sort of going to church on Sunday, it's maybe my religion, and then other 6 days I'm in the real world, and for all intents and purposes, it's about science and the way that we're living our lives. We're using science right now. Or can we live in a way where the two are together? And do they or can they support each other? And do they prove or help each other? Or will they have a contradiction? And will there be this balance we have to strike in our lives between the two? So to discuss this subject, I'm going to invite Dr. Prashant. Background is medical, currently based in Cambridge, and we're going to explore this subject and share ideas. So welcome to Prashant.
Thank you, Sarah, and such a nice subject for us, and definitely, if you are in Cambridge, it is the place where we have to address this aspect of science all the time. So even those who are not in the university, they are colored by the science atmosphere here. So we will be. First, let us take the subject of science, and this is nicely summarized by one professor, astronomy professor. He used to attend our retreats here, and one student from also attending the retreat, she asked him, "You are Cambridge University professor in science. What are you doing here? What is it that makes you come here for the retreats?" And he said, "Our science operates," he used an image like this, operates within the limits. And reality is more than the limits put by our institution of science. And that summarizes it. And anyone who is sensible, knows. No one can say our senses can help us understand everything. If someone is really putting that kind of position, it is just a fanatic, another mode. Just like there are some people become fanatic, that their one little belief is everything. That there can be fanatics in different other fields also. But if we remain open, sensible, and we know that our physical senses cannot give us the information, and even the information we get, it is not reliable. That is the extraordinary thing. For example, the light from the sun, our senses can pick up 0.3% of the frequencies of the light that is coming from the sun. Even some other animals can see other frequencies, like infrared and all, are seen by some other animals and birds. But where human beings can see certain range, but that is 0.3%. That is very physical, and science itself accepts this. But there are some other areas, like, for example, homing pigeons. In experiments, it is seen that pigeon, under experimental conditions, which means this pigeon cannot see and cannot smell and cannot hear. So senses, by whatever the method, they are dulled. They cannot pick up the senses that we know of. And you release them 20 miles away from their nest, and they go in the right direction, and they crash land on the same tree. They don't locate the nest, but they come and land on the same tree. We don't know what they as if see. What is it? Which sense they got? Because we don't even have that sense. It is almost like if someone doesn't know, hasn't got a sense of smell, he doesn't know what he's missing and what others are picking up. He can't even begin to understand. It is the same like this. We don't have the senses, but the reality exists, and I don't have the senses to pick it up. The methodology of science relies 100% on the sense observation, and that's why it goes away from reality. It puts a limit, and then truth is much more than the limits that are put by the senses. And so it goes on. When we come to the research done in paranormal, even Edinburgh has got a chair for parapsychology, Edinburgh University, and there are many institutions over the world that do these institutions. They are academics and scientists, but those who are interested in areas that are beyond our limitations, and they are doing research into the frontier, we can say, the paranormal. Some simple example of this is out-of-body experiences, and those who do the research, they say 6% of the population have out-of-body experiences. This is like an enormous number. If you read into this research, in this country, there is a psychical research institute based in London, and there are many other institutions. If you go into it, that you will get connected to their websites. Some wonderful work that is done by them, the near-death experiences, and they find that these are the areas mainline science cannot explain, and that limitations we cannot explain. The best answer they can tell is it never happened. Something like this. Like one case where it was a near-death experience. Person had a cardiac arrest. Everyone thought he's dead. And there was sort of, resuscitation attempt. But he was unconscious during all this time. And when he returned back to consciousness and he was transferred to the other ward, he told what he saw during that entire period when he was unconscious. He gave the details to the cardiologist, and cardiologist has heard something like this before, but he ignored it, tried to say, okay, it may be some anoxia, but we are glad you are alive. But after some time, this patient said, I left this ward at one point. I came out of this in my disembodied state. And I went over the roof of the hospital. And over the roof of the hospital, where there are no stairs to go to that roof, he said, I saw one shoe, one blue shoe was on the roof of that hospital. At a certain, he showed which end of the roof. Now the cardiologist got a bit curious. He said, this is a big statement. If someone says he actually saw, this can be verified. This kind of statement, other things you cannot verify. So this cardiologist got the television crew and the cameraman and asked them to go to the roof. This is the patient. Let us find out, impartially what is happening. And these television people go to the roof and they find a blue shoe on the roof at a certain place where he was pointing. The name of the cardiologist is Raymond Moody, and then subsequently he decided he will study this more, and he has written books on this. And this particular video where the cameraman finding the shoe, you will find it on the YouTube. If you type the Raymond Moody, some words like this, and maybe blue shoe, you might get connected to this cameraman spotting this patients. They are not his shoes, but spotting the shoes that the patient described. There are cases of this kind, very, very fascinating. But all these help you to open our spectrum, remove the blinders and see better and see objectively. Uri Geller, you might have heard the name Uri Geller, and he, in his presence, thinks metal bends, spoons bend, and he at one time wanted to help the scientists. He said, I myself don't know what is going on here, but I can see this phenomenon. I can hold a spoon and just concentrate and it bends. It is extraordinary, he says, but I would like to, scientists to do the research. And he cooperated with the experiments. And then one set of scientists, in Cambridge also, they would sort of, under experimental conditions, and he does it. They say, we want to repeat, and they repeat it again. They sort of take all the precautions, cameras, this, that. They repeat it again, and he does it. Then the other set of scientists, they want to see it. So they come, they do the experiment, and it goes on. He says he was so fed up with this a lot, he decided not to cooperate. He said, enough, don't want to go any further. This was at that time when he was sharing this experience at one of our science event. We had invited him, and that's when he was talking about how what happens, the big trap our present day science is in. We have got this model, and any of these cases of this kind, they rock the very foundation of our belief structure, science belief structure. We have to think of our models differently. We have to write books differently. And that is rocking the institution. So some scientists say this whole science needs to be revamped. And they say it will happen earlier than we thought it was going to happen. And one researcher by name Ian Stevenson from Virginia University, and his research in reincarnation is so clear and so convincing. He has got thousands and thousands of cases, and his systematic research. And they say his method is perfect. His work is extraordinary, very good research findings. Totally agree with what he's doing, but we can't use his work. And another person said, if he's right, Ian Stevenson is right, we all are wrong. So if we all are wrong, means we have to, change our position and change our basic premise. So this is the one aspect of science. I'm touching the subject. Now let us come to spirituality, and I'm going to use the whiteboard here. And we like to sometimes to play with words, science versus silence. These are sort of using these words to play with. So what the world of silence, means spirituality, tells us is that there is a much bigger world than we can call it invisible world, but that is a seed reality, that invisible dimension. And there is a physical dimension. Here is a physical dimension. But invisible is the seed reality. That is where our true family of invisible travelers, they exist here. And this dimension is timeless and is of course secure. And from there we come in the physical, and it is almost like a seed and a tree, essence and expansion. There is a seed world, and then there is an expansion happens here. We come into, the invisible player comes in action and very much involved in the physical world, expresses and experiences, and then time comes, he comes home. What happens if there is a tree, and if I ignore the seed and the root for too long time, I just pluck fruits and I do something, spray, invent some good spray for the fruits and pluck fruits, and don't even know that seed exists and the roots exist. Then sooner or later, I will stop getting fruits, and there will be failure. If there is someone who understands the great value of the roots and pays attention to the roots and seed, it is invisible, but that is where his attention is. Then there will be fruit for a long time. He will continue to get results over a long period of time, and that will be nice. That will be success. Something similar happens with the power of science. Power of science, and I'm talking here the entire institution of science, but also our present world. We are completely ignoring the root and the seed. We are ignoring the seed reality. Our 100% focus is on the fruit and getting more fruits and plucking fruits and how to pluck faster. How long can it continue? Then there are no ripe fruits. I pluck raw fruits and I pluck the leaves, and sooner or later I will run out of the fruits. I head towards destruction. The power of silence, it has understanding of the bigger map. It knows the invisible seed, invisible roots. They are not obvious, they are hidden. the one with power of silence knows this. He knows how to pay attention to it, how to nourish the seed and root. And happy with that. Once he has done that, he remains carefree. And it appears he's ignoring the tree and he's ignoring the fruits. It may appear like that, but he's not running around, plucking fruits. He is doing something different. But the fruit will continue to come for generations, for a long time, because you are addressing the situation at the right level. The tree will be healthier. So here we are talking the entire physical world and all that is happening. That is the tree. At present, very fact, if we are fighting, we are going for more and more bombs and then armies, means there is something is wrong in there is emptiness somewhere. That's why we want to, it presents, this emptiness and insecurity presents with all these behaviors of today. The answer is not more army or more bombs or more research. We have to address the seed and we have to address the roots and that whole seed reality. Even few people pay attention to this. That is enough. And that has power to bring about this big shift. Excellent. I will stop here and I'll be happy to hear some more comments and any questions.
Thank you. And shared a lot in a short time. And so invitation to share questions in the chat. Meanwhile, I think the allure of science is that it shows results. It's very clear, the benefits at the physical level. As you say, it's something tangible, whereas you mentioned the invisible side and with the analogy of the seed, and we don't see the seed, and that is invisible. But is it possible that spirituality can show results in the same way that science can?
Of course, accept that spirituality doesn't go for, quick fix. That is the difference. And as we said, if you are working at the root and you are working at the seed, the benefits for the tree, it will come in at least few days later or few weeks later. Whereas to pluck this fruit, it is a quick results. So there are benefits, but by definition, you work at a deeper level, you work at a grassroots level.
Going back to the subject when you were laying the foundation about science, and it reminds me when you were speaking about Ian Stevenson, I decided to speak to a close relative who is very scientific in thinking about the research of Ian Stevenson, who shows very clear link between birth defects and children remembering past lives, so that the actual bullet wound is seen in the next life as a scar or as a birthmark, and lots of cases. So I brought this up, and it was very interesting to see how we both came out of the discussion just being more clear about the confirmation bias, which is when we're tending to search for, interpret or favor things and recall information that confirms or supports the way one believes and or feels is true. So for me, this research was reaffirming that there is a soul or this invisible traveler, and for the relative, it confirmed that that we will just look for research which confirms our feeling. And so it felt like the language that we were speaking was just so different. Do you you mentioned in science that we have to think so radically differently that it will rock the foundation of the thinking. Is science becoming unscientific?
They themselves will agree with that. Helplessly, we all human beings tend to create ego. We identify with ideas, just as it happens in the religions, and it happens in politics. Someone has an idea and then he thinks that idea is the best and identifies with it. Someone doesn't agree with that idea, it becomes a personal offense. They can get angry, it makes them insecure. And social scientists, we are also human beings, and we have this tendency to identify with some concept, some principles, some theory, and that's why there is politics within the institutions of science amongst themselves. Trying to promote one idea compared to some other idea, this kind of thing, and that blinds us. Once we are into this ego-based, our journey, then we are not objective anymore. We are not looking for truth. We want to just prove I am right. So this factor is very much there. It may not be the same way as in politics, but it is there. But that prevents the main line, the institution, from being objective. It doesn't mean that there are individuals. There are individuals in every institution, in every political party and religions who will be objective and thinking differently.
Yeah, we're talking in very general terms, and it is always much more about an individual. In a sense, can spirituality and those individuals practicing spirituality really claim to be objective themselves? Or are we going to be helplessly falling into the same trap? We could be, for example, becoming identified with these ideas, and then it is, again, we have sort of lost the essence, and it becomes more absurd in a sense with spirituality, and we see it, of course, with religion, unfortunately, in different ways.
Yes, it is possible, and it happens in me also. But what happens within the spiritual tradition? There is at least a method to observe this, to understand this, and to come out of it. So if someone wants to, he can see that is happening, and he can say, yes, I don't want to go in this direction. And he has the option to step out of it, be that invisible observer, come to that secure. His security is not based upon the ego, based comfort, but his security is coming from beyond. So a certain fraction of the students who are making spiritual effort will make that effort to go to the seed and not be deceived by the ego. And I'm saying here certain percentage, but it also means certain percentage may still be defeated by ego. That is a real possibility.
Opening up a very fascinating area, which also came last week. So we can come back to that aspect of identification and ego, because that seems to be what is also creating this indifference in a way, a kind of alienation of both which is not mutually beneficial to anyone. One question that's just come, thank you for the insights. And the question, quantum physics is actually very much, in a sense, the point here was trying to link the invisible and visible worlds. Do you think that it will succeed and bring any benefit to humanity?
Quantum physics as an institution? And no, quantum physics has its own benefits already. We do see the benefits in lots of gadgets that we are seeing. They all are using principles from quantum physics, and so that is the benefit. But if anyone feels that is going to lead to spirituality, no, answer is not. That has got its own level, and the world of true spirituality is independent. We don't need that jargon of science for spiritual. Some use the word quantum consciousness, that is like a jargon, unnecessary. We can go for independent. It is a different path.
I think you answered it, but the question is, will it lead to benefit to humanity? It may be independent of spirituality even, but is it because it is acknowledging and getting more into in a sense, there are like the double slit experiment that you can see on YouTube. They will acknowledge that there is some effect of the observer, for example. So does it have anything that will benefit maybe in its own right?
Very, at a very superficial level. True spirituality is like much. Let me put it in this way. If there are 100 people, and none of them know about anything of quantum physics, but they have interest in spirituality. Their heart is, it is intuitive. That is the most important quality we need. They are the ones who will be more useful to themselves and to others. There are another 100 lot who are very interested in quantum physics and all the amazing experiments, but that interest may be so much that it deceives them, that itself deceives them, and they are not making use of their time and mind to go beyond. Ultimately, what is really required is not to get caught into another web, to go beyond the web. So there are enough signals we get. We don't need double slit experiment there are enough signals we get to know that there is something far more profound at a subtle level, invisible level. And we need to create time to discover that.
Yeah, the focus is so different. We're really talking about two completely different worlds. And it just reminds me of the, we have the late Stephen Hawking, who's wanted to promote finding another planet. So it's an incredible aspiration in a way, however it would be done, whether we are being there. But the very fact that the planet we do have, it would be worthy of saving. And if our mindset has created this world, will we not just create it in another solar system, another planet? So this aspect of coming back in a very simple way to the inner life certainly resonates here in a very sort of simple logic that we will take our mindset with us, whatever we're going to do, and that's worth addressing. So this
I want to give you just one nice example of this.
Yes. Please
I
go ahead.
was associated with the one science institution and gathering and some conferences, gathering, retreats. And there were at times discussions and different ideas. Does consciousness exist? This exist? Quantum physics, and someone who has written books on quantum physics and spirituality, they were coming. And I was a bit fascinated to see all this happening. This was many years ago. And after 25 years, when I meet them again and attend their conference, they are talking the same thing. There is same chatter going on, same questions, same sort of. And I said, what have they done in all these 25 years? Just read more books and written more books, and it is in a circle. That's why I am a bit cautious about this quantum physics web.
So it sounds like just like when one has been traveling and then you come back home and you're there's always an amazement if it's been a period of time away. When you come back, everyone is still watching the same soap operas, and there's the same songs at Christmas. It can be quite unbelievable, So it sounds like for you feel there is progress and there is some movement there. So it would be nice to understand that a bit more. And maybe specifically, you said in spirituality, that at least there is a method to observe and come out of this lower side of ourselves. Maybe we can call it ego. Would you be able to expand on that? Because maybe this is an area or is a question, is this an area you feel that progress has been made for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. We all have got a huge potential to explore and experience what we are talking about here, the wonder of starting with the self. The wonder is a right word for this, and the wonder of that reality that exists, and wonder of everyone else also, but not at a physical level. It is all at a subtle level. And what is the wonder? In words, maybe some simple words, we might feel the way, here we heard these words. It is literally realizing that we are so different to start with compared to what we thought we are. That itself is another big shock, that we are not what we thought we were. It is literally in our present delusion, you are mistaking car for the driver, and now you are realizing there is a driver. It's completely different. It is a bit like that. And once you are seeing this, you are also realizing that the true you, true self, is a being that he never need to be a beggar. He needs nothing for his existence. And this is like a very powerful thing. You need nothing for your existence. In the three words, you don't need no one, you need nothing. And that is, what is the power in this? Everything becomes a gift. When you don't need anything, that beggar within us disappears. And then you are seeing everything with the energy of fun. And this is the way we exist. We all exist like this. When we are deceived in this web, we become eternal beggars. Constantly we are having demands, and as if we can lose something and we can be deprived of something. Constant. They may think they are successful, but the mentality is of a beggar and a potential victim. This is the quality of life they lead. And they, everyone is immortal, as we said here. We ourselves are from the world that is timeless, and we ourselves are immortal. But at a practical level, whole life they are worrying about death. Their constant preoccupation is what might happen. They might die. Some of these paradoxes, just to be free from those victim mentalities and beggar mentalities, slave mentalities. What remains is so sweet, and one leads to the next. Once you open that side of the world, if once you start exploring this invisible side, the seed reality, you got a lot to experience and explore. You also realize everyone is like this, and that everyone is lucky, immensely lucky, but also worthy of great love. So you don't sort of love somebody because they are nice to me and sending me gifts and cakes. That's why I love them. You are loving others at an immense love, but it doesn't need too much show and too much noise and no song, but there is love. Am I talking too much?
It's giving a feeling, and it always raises this question inside, like, why are we learning about it on a Tuesday night, on Zoom or YouTube? Why isn't this more at the forefront? And I think perhaps these ideas, which are coming with through the door of mindfulness, which of course is has been extracted completely from spirituality and religion. It is its own safe kind of language, but it's giving at least some support to help with our mind. Otherwise, we haven't had any tools, and certainly in the Western culture that I was brought up in. So yeah, that's what comes up. It's an incredible feeling of empowerment. Do we need science at all?
As was mentioned earlier, we need nothing. The biggest thing we need to discover, and it is such a beautiful truth of everyone. We need nothing. That is the starting position. Everything is a gift. And science is also great, and it is wonderful. And it is nice, the gift, but yeah, it is a gift. Now, having said that, when we are approaching science with our inner dysfunction, when individuals are in the dysfunctional state, and then they are approaching science, they can destroy this civilization. Because science, within it, there is a power and there is a potential there. And this is the statement made by sociologists from Cambridge University, book by Anthony Giddens, professor in Cambridge. He's sociology professor. He says science as an institution, it is a question of time when this institution can destroy the civilization. And that is obvious. We can postpone it, but the consciousness is of human beings. If that is ignored, then we are using this something that is powerful in a dysfunctional way. So that is not a problem of science, it is a problem of human beings. But science is wonderful.
Yeah, it feels like it's excellent in context. And it reminds me of another Einstein quote. He said, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. But we have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift."
Mm-hmm. So nice.
So it's been like a nice overview discussion, and I wonder if it has prompted and promoted any insights or thoughts. Feel free to share. We have a few minutes left, and if there's anything you wanted to share to wrap up and also finish with some meditation. There is one question: are there any good resources which we can use to learn more about the topics discussed today?
No, sure. We can put them in the chat later.
Yeah, if you're not able to access the chat, if you're watching recording, we can make sure we can post them on the YouTube comments page or on the website where you can see the Tuesday talks. You can get connected to YouTube from there. Yeah, and comment that, would you say children can more easily grasp spirituality?
We can say children are more spiritual at that level than adults. That doesn't necessarily mean they can grasp the theory behind it, but they have not entered into the web the same as adults. And in other words, one who is a child, down the line, he will just enter into the web more and more. This is the journey of almost everyone. And unless one understands what is happening and makes that deliberate effort to free himself from the web. Spirituality just is this, if we can use that word, to become free. And if that attention is not there, there are many webs here. We said even quantum physics, that can become another web. There are many webs, and the soul is getting trapped in these webs in our present world situation. It is innocently, and as he's getting anyone, a human or animal, more one is caught in the web, he loses. He's not useful to himself. He's not useful to others, not at a real level. More you become free from the web, you are useful to yourselves and useful to others. And that is the biggest help we can give to ourselves. The important thing that we need to address, achieving that freedom.
Thank you. And that's more than answered the question, I think, but any follow-up thoughts, feel free to share. So yeah, let's create a few minutes if you'd be happy to guide us for a few moments with some reflection for our inner laboratory.
Sure. I'd like to tell one story. And this story is by Nasruddin, and many of us might have heard a story of this kind. Nasruddin is looking for a key, and his neighbors come out, was searching for the key, and finally they say, "Do you know where you dropped it?" He says, "Yes, I dropped it in my bedroom." "The bedroom? Why are you searching it on the street?" He says, "It is dark in my bedroom. There is light here, street light." Now this is giving a nice insight into what is happening to us. We all are looking for something. For example, we are looking for happiness at place, we are looking for peace, we are looking for security, treasures. But we think we'll get it where it is easy. Not where we lost it, but where it is easy. You will get it where you lost it, not where it is easy. And where did we lose it? You want to answer? Where did we lose it? Our peace and our happiness. And did we lose it in other people? I didn't know those people. And did I lose them in another place? I did not know of those wonderful places. So where did I lose them? Anyone can answer. If you get a right answer, you will get a prize. Or if you get my answer.
One answer in our mind.
Yes. You know, the answer I'm looking for, we lost ourselves. That is the biggest paradox in this. The ego means we are clinging to false I. And that is what we were saying earlier also, to discover that your idea of self itself, it is radical. You discover the true self. So this understanding of losing ourselves, and with that we are then searching into this empty, empty pot, that what we think we lost. For example, we are looking for security in this completely insecure temporary world. We are looking for immortality in this kind of absurdity that we are seeing at present. The answer is this rediscover, come in the light, and this rediscover the what we have lost. Not where it is easy, but come and discover the self. And then you realize it is all within you. The highest treasures are already there. And that's why then your attitude towards this world is noble. Ordinary attitude of the human beings is of a victim, potential victim. In this, you discovered the ultimate prize and ultimate treasure. You discovered your immortality. And then everything is fun, everything is extra. Everything appears a gift. So let us play with this during these minutes. And we start with best sight. We all have the option to use the sight. And with this, we are seeing that the entire physical world is like a great gift and a great story. So whatever that happened today, it appears it happened in a story. And whatever happened in the past happened in a story. An extraordinary gift, the whole story world. And invisible observer of this story is also the invisible guest. He's involved in the story, but he's a guest. He understands his complete independence from the story. He needs nothing from the story. Invisible guest is the invisible traveler. He is also the invisible observer. He is aware of his world beyond. As we continue on our journey, we remind ourselves repeatedly of the bigger map. Remind ourselves that there is the invisible guest. And guest has his own world beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And lots of material to reflect on, and the essence, which is really acknowledging what is happening in the mind, and to start with that and see the practical benefits that we can bring, so we can appreciate all that we have. So really lots of appreciation and lots of positive comments, so we can take that as some practice in our own in the mind, and so hope to see you there, and feel free to share with your contacts. Thank you. See you next time.